The scorching June sun beats down mercilessly as Natalie Harrison rushes through the ornate iron gates of Meridian Heights Country Club, where she's been working as a poolside server for exactly 4 months and 11 days. Her white polo shirt clings to her back with sweat. Her ponytail has gone limp from the humidity, and the carefully applied sunscreen from this morning has long since melted away. She's already 15 minutes late for her shift. "Natalie, where the hell have you been?" Trevor, the pool manager, hisses as she speed walks past the cabanas toward the staff changing room. His normally tanned face is flushed, a vein pulsing at his temple that she's never noticed before. "I'm sorry, there was an accident on the freeway," she starts to explain, but he cuts her off. "Cabana 12, VIP member. You're covering it today." His voice drops low, urgent. "Listen to me very carefully, Natalie. This guest, he's beyond important. Do not mess this up." "But that's Amber's section," she protests, her fingers fumbling with the locker combination. "I don't even know the premium service protocols." Trevor grabs her shoulder, spinning her around to face him. "Amber quit this morning. No notice, no explanation, just grabbed her stuff and left." His eyes bore into hers with an intensity that makes her stomach drop. "You're the only one who can handle this. The only one I trust not to stare or gossip or do something stupid." "Who is he?" she asks, dread pooling in her gut. "Marcus Donovan." Trevor's voice is barely above a whisper. "Owner of half the commercial real estate in the city. And before you ask, yes, that Marcus Donovan. Every employee at Meridian Heights knows the name. The club exists because Marcus Donovan bought the land, funded the construction, and hand-selected the membership. He's the ghost in the machine, the silent partner whose name gets mentioned in reverent whispers. In 4 months, Natalie has never seen him, but she's heard the stories. Some say he's just a reclusive billionaire. Others whisper about less legal enterprises, connections to people who solve problems that can't be solved through proper channels. She needs this job desperately. 7 months ago, she fled Phoenix with nothing but 2 suitcases and her elderly cat, escaping an engagement to a man whose charm had slowly curdled into control, then cruelty. Dallas was supposed to be her clean slate, but clean slates cost money, and her tiny studio apartment in East Dallas devours most of her paycheck before she can even think about paying down the credit card debt she accumulated. Running away. What does he want? Her voice comes out steadier than she feels. The usual. Privacy, discretion, excellence. Trevor releases her shoulder. The standing order is fruit, sparkling water, and whatever else he requests. No questions, no small talk, unless he initiates it. And for God's sake, don't take photos or tell anyone he's here. Natalie nods, changing quickly into her uniform. A crisp white polo and khaki shorts that the club requires for pool staff. She catches a glimpse of herself in the mirror, dark circles under her hazel eyes, freckles standing out against her pale skin despite the Texas sun. She looks tired. She is tired. She grabs a tray, loads it with sliced mango, pineapple and strawberries arranged artfully, 2 bottles of Italian sparkling water, and crystalline glasses filled with ice. The walk from the service building to Cabana 12 feels endless, her sandals slapping against the hot concrete, children shrieking in the shallow end, the scent of chlorine and sunscreen thick in the air. Cabana 12 sits at the far end of the pool, slightly elevated, positioned for maximum privacy. Sheer white curtains flutter in the hot breeze, obscuring whoever waits inside. She takes a breath, balances the tray, and pushes through the fabric. The man inside makes her forget how to breathe. He's younger than she expected, maybe 37, lying on a cushioned lounge chair in black swim trunks, a laptop open on the small table beside him. His body is all lean muscle, the kind that comes from discipline rather than vanity, with a scattering of scars across his ribs that tell stories she probably doesn't want to. No. Dark hair, silver threading through at the temples. A face that's handsome in a harsh way, all sharp angles and intensity, even in repose. But it's his eyes that pin her in place when he looks up. Gray, like storm clouds, and utterly assessing. She sets the tray down on the table with hands that want to shake. "Good afternoon, Mr. Donovan. I'm Natalie, and I'll be taking care of your cabana today. Can I get a food? Anything else to start?" He doesn't answer immediately. Just studies her with those unnerving eyes, his gaze moving from her face down to her uniform and back up. Not leering, just cataloging, taking inventory. "You're new," he says finally. His voice is deep with a slight rasp, like whiskey over gravel. 4 months, she replies, pouring sparkling water into a glass without being asked. The way Trevor trained her. Not a question, but she answers anyway. A ghost of a smile touches his lips. There and gone. "Where's Amber?" "She had a family emergency." The lie comes easily. Protecting Amber's abrupt departure. "I'll be covering her section for the foreseeable future." He accepts the glass when she offers it, his fingers brushing hers for a fraction of a second. The touch sends an unexpected jolt up her arm. "Family emergency," he repeats, something knowing in his tone. Interesting. Before she can respond, her phone buzzes in the small pocket of her shorts. She never keeps it on her during shifts, but her brother's wife is due to give birth any day now, and she promised to be available. This is the call she's been waiting for, hoping for. "I apologize," she says, stepping back toward the entrance. "If you need anything, just press the service button." She steps out of the cabana and checks her phone with trembling hands. It's her brother Danny calling from California, the place she fled from, the place that still holds everyone she loves. She answers in a whisper, turning away from the pool. "Danny." His voice comes through, tight with emotion, excited, but jubilant. They arrive early. Twin girls. Everyone's healthy. "Nat, you have to come meet them." Her eyes fill with tears that she blinks back furiously. Twin girls. "Oh my God, Danny, that's incredible. Rachel wants you here. I want you here. When can you fly out?" The question lands like a weight on her chest. A flight to California, even last minute, costs money she doesn't have. Her savings account has $47.32 in it. She sends money to her mother every month to help with her medications. Money that leaves nothing for emergencies or spontaneous trips or meeting her newborn nieces. "I don't know," she says quietly, her voice cracking. "Soon, I'll figure it out." They talk for another minute before Danny has to go, and she ends the call with tears sliding down her cheeks, then that she wipes away quickly. Aware that she's still on duty, still visible to club members and management. When she turns back to the cabana, Marcus Donovan is standing at the entrance, the sheer curtains pushed aside. He's watching her, and still shirtless and arms crossed over that scarred chest, an expression on his face that's impossible to read. "Bad news?" he asks, stepping aside to let her back in. She forces a professional smile, the mask she's learned to wear. "Nothing I can't handle. Is there something else you need, Mr. Donovan?" "Marcus," he corrects. Moving back to his lounge chair but not sitting. "No one calls me Mr. Donovan here." "That's the point of this place?" She nods, still standing by the table, unsure if she's been dismissed. "You speak English without much accent, but there's something underneath," he observes, picking up a blade of mango and examining it. "California?" Her spine stiffens. "Born and raised in San Diego." "How did you—" He eats the mango, still watching her. "You have that coastal ease, even when you're stressed. And you mentioned flying out, not driving. Distance. The casual assessment, the way he's read her from a brief phone call and her accent, sends ice through her veins. This is not normal small talk. This is interrogation disguised as conversation. What do you do, Natalie? Besides serve overpriced fruit to rich people? The bluntness startles a real smile from her. I'm in school. Business administration at Dallas Community College. This is just until I finish my degree. He nods slowly, as if she's confirmed something. Ambitious. I respect that. A splash from the pool. Children's laughter. The hum of conversation from other cabanas. All of it feels distant, muted, as if this space exists outside normal reality. Her phone buzzes again. This time, it's a text from her mother. A photo of the two tiny infants, one in pink, one in yellow. Both impossibly small and perfect. The message underneath reads, "They need their aunt. Please come." Something breaks inside her chest. The longing, the frustration, the financial trap she's caught in. All of it wells up, and threatens to spill over. You should go, Marcus says quietly. His eyes are on her face, reading emotions she thought she was hiding. Family's important. More important than this place. She locks her phone screen, tucking it away. I will, when I can afford it. The silence that follows feels heavy, significant. Marcus sits back down, picking up his laptop, and she thinks the conversation is over. She starts to gather the empty water bottle, preparing to excuse herself when he speaks again. I have a business proposition for you. Her hands still. A proposition. I need an assistant. Someone smart, discreet, and capable of handling complex situations with grace under pressure. The position pays well, very well, and it starts immediately. Her heart begins to pound. I already have a job. This would be better. His eyes meet hers, direct and unwavering. $50,000 for 2 weeks of work. Plus expenses. The number hits her like a physical blow. $50,000. More than she makes in a year at the club. More than she's ever had in her bank account at once. Enough to visit her nieces, pay off her credit cards, maybe even put down a deposit on a better apartment. What kind of work? Her voice sounds distant to her own ears. I'm negotiating a major acquisition. Multiple meetings. Some local. Some requiring travel. I need someone to manage my schedule, take notes, handle communications, and occasionally serve as a buffer between me and people I'd rather not deal with directly. It sounds reasonable. Too reasonable. Why me? There must be professional assistants, people with actual experience. Something that might be respect flickers in his expression. Because professionals talk. They have networks, connections, loyalties to other employers. You're new to Dallas. You keep your head down, or you don't gossip. Trevor told me you've never once mentioned seeing any of the members outside the club, even when other staff were trading stories. The fact that he's already talked to Trevor about her, already gathered intelligence, should terrify her. It does terrify her, but the number 50,000 keeps echoing in her mind. And you know this about me, how? Marcus leans forward, elbows on his knees, his intensity focused entirely on her. I make it my business to know about people who work in my spaces, Natalie. Especially people who are running from something. Her blood turns to ice. I'm not running. Everyone's running from something. His voice softens slightly, not quite kind, but not cruel either. The question is whether you're running towards something better or just away. The truth of it stings. She is running, still running, even 7 months later, looking over her shoulder, checking the locks on her door twice, jumping when men speak too loudly or stand too close. I need to think about it, she says, though her mind is already calculating. $50,000? 2 weeks? Whatever he's really asking for, could it be worse than staying trapped in her current situation? Of course. Marcus reaches into a bag beside his chair and pulls out a business card, black with silver lettering. Simple. Expensive. Just his name and a phone number. Call me by 8 tonight if you're interested. After that, I'll make other arrangements. She takes the card, the paper thick and textured against her fingers. What if I say no? Then you say no. He meets her eyes steadily. I'm not going to coerce you, Natalie. This is a job offer, not a threat. But I will tell you this, opportunities like this don't come around often. And from what I can see, you need one. The blunt assessment of her desperation should anger her. Instead, it feels almost like relief. Like someone finally seeing the truth she worked so hard to hide. She slips the card into her pocket, next to her phone, with its photo of her infant nieces. I should get back to work. Is there anything else you need right now? Privacy, and maybe more fruit in an hour. She nods, backing toward the cabana entrance, hyper-aware of his eyes still on her. When she steps back into the bright sunlight, the heat hits her like a wall, and she realizes she was holding her breath. The rest of her shift passes in a blur. She brings Marcus fresh fruit, refills his water, and twice more enters the cabana to find him on phone calls, speaking in low tones that stop the moment she appears. Each time, his eyes follow her movements, assessing, calculating, seeing things she doesn't want seen. By the time her shift ends at 6, her mind has been made up and unmade a dozen times. She changes back into her street clothes, jeans and a faded university t-shirt, and walks to her car, a 15-year-old Honda that shudders when she starts it. The shift back to her apartment takes her through neighborhoods that get progressively less maintained, past convenience stores with bars on the windows, toward the complex, where her studio waits. She parks in her assigned spot, climbs the exterior stairs to the second floor, and lets herself into her tiny space. It's clean but depressing. A Murphy bed that doubles as her couch, a kitchenette with 2 burners, a bathroom so small she has to stand sideways to close the door. Her cat, Fitzgerald, a gray tabby she rescued from a shelter in Phoenix, meows plaintively from his perch on the windowsill. She feeds him, then collapses onto the bed, Marcus's business card clutched in her hand. $50,000. 2 weeks. What was he really buying? She pulls out her phone and does what she should have done immediately. She searches for Marcus Donovan. The results are extensive and contradictory. CEO of Donovan Holdings, a real estate development company, but at Findi, George with projects across Texas and Nevada. Philanthropist, according to the Dallas Morning News, with significant donations to children's hospitals and veterans programs. But deeper into the search results, there are Reddit threads, speculation on investment forums, and one archived news article about a federal investigation 3 years ago that ended with no charges filed. Reclusive, the articles say. Private, doesn't give interviews. The few photos of him show the same harsh face, the same storm gray eyes, always in expensive suits, always alone. Nothing definitively criminal, but nothing that puts her mind at ease either. Her phone buzzes. Another text from Danny, this time a video of one of the twins yawning. The message. Rachel says to tell you we named them Lily and Rose. They're perfect, Nat. When can you come? She stares at the tiny face on her screen, at the opportunity Marcus Donovan has offered, at the choice that isn't really a choice at all. At 7:53, she calls the number on the card. He answers on the first ring. Natalie. Not a question. He knew it would be her. I'll take the job, she says before she can second-guess herself. But I have conditions. I'd be disappointed if you didn't. There's something that might be amusement in his voice. Meet me tomorrow morning. I'll send a car at 8. To where? My office. We'll discuss terms, sign paperwork, and begin immediately. And Natalie? Yes. Pack a bag. The first trip is tomorrow afternoon. The line goes dead before she can respond. She sits in her tiny apartment, Fitzgerald purring beside her, the weight of her decision settling over her shoulders like a physical thing. Tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. She will leave for God knows where with a man she doesn't know, doing work she doesn't understand, for money that will change her life. What she doesn't know, sitting in the dying light of a Texas evening, is that by the time she returns to this apartment, she won't be the same person, and Marcus Donovan, the man with storm-gray eyes and secrets in every shadow, will have claimed pieces of her she didn't know existed. Sleep doesn't come easily that night. Natalie lies in her Murphy bed, staring at the water-stained ceiling, her mind racing through every possible scenario. What if this is trafficking? What if Marcus Donovan is exactly the kind of dangerous man the internet whispers suggest? What if she's walking directly into a trap, but then her phone lights up with another photo from Danny, this one of their mother holding both twins, her face radiant, despite the exhaustion and illness Natalie knows lurks beneath the smile. The caption reads simply, "We're waiting for you." By the time dawn breaks, painting her small window gold, she's made her peace with the decision. She'll go. She'll be cautious, alert, ready to run if necessary. But she'll go. She packs methodically. Professional clothes she bought from a thrift store for interviews, jeans and casual tops, toiletries, her laptop. She tucks her pepper spray into an easily accessible pocket of her purse, along with a portable charger and the small amount of cash she has hidden in her dresser. Emergency money, her mother always called it. Money for when things go wrong. Fitzgerald watches from the windowsill, his yellow eyes unblinking. "I'll be back in 2 weeks," she tells him, arranging for her neighbor, Mrs. Chen, to feed him. The elderly woman had looked at her with concern when she'd explained she'd be traveling for work, but she'd agreed without prying. At 7:50, Natalie is showered, dressed in black pants and a cream blouse, her hair pulled back in a neat bun. She looks professional, competent, nothing like the terrified woman she actually is. At exactly 8 o'clock, a black Mercedes SUV pulls up in front of her building. The driver who emerges is a large man, maybe 50, with a military bearing, and a face that reveals nothing. He spots her immediately, as if he's been shown her photo. "Ms. Harrison?" His voice is surprisingly gentle for his size. "That's me." He takes her suitcase without asking, loading it into the back while holding the rear door open for her. The interior of the SUV is immaculate. Leather seats, tinted windows, and a privacy partition that's currently down. "We'll be there in 20 minutes, he says, pulling smoothly into traffic. "I'm Leo. I drive for Mr. Donovan. She wants to ask questions, has a dozen of them, but something in Leo's posture suggests he won't answer. So she sits in silence, watching Dallas slide by through the tinted windows. They don't go to a downtown skyscraper as she expected. Instead, Leo drives north, out of the city proper, into an area of sprawling estates hidden behind stone wall and iron gates. When they finally turn off the main road, it's through gates that open automatically, as if the vehicle has been recognized. The driveway winds through manicured grounds, past trees that must be decades old, toward a house that's more like a compound. Modern architecture, all glass, and steel and clean lines, perched on a hill with views that must stretch for mile. "Donovan is expecting you in his office," Leo says, opening her door. "I'll take your bag to the guest house." "Guest house!" She climbs out, her legs unsteady. "I thought we were going to his office." "This is his office." Leo gestures toward the house. The amount of residents doubles as his headquarters. The front door opens before she reaches it, revealing a woman in her 50s, wearing a crisp pantsuit, her gray hair cut in a sharp bob. She looks like she could run a Fortune 500 company or a small country with equal competence. Miss Harrison, I'm Margaret Chen, Mr. Donovan's executive assistant. She extends a hand, her grip firm and brief. Please, follow me. The interior of the house is as impressive as the exterior. High ceilings, minimalist furniture, artwork that Natalie suspects is original and expensive. But there's no warmth to it, no personal touches, no photographs or mementos. It feels like a showroom, not a home. Margaret leads her through the main level, down hallway and into a large office with windows overlooking the grounds. Behind a massive desk of dark wood sits Marcus Donovan, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than 3 months of her rent. He's on a phone call, speaking in clipped tones, but his eyes track her the moment she enters. He ends the call without preamble. Natalie. He stands, coming around the desk. You came. You didn't think I would? I hoped you would. There's a difference. He gestures to a seating area, 2 leather chairs positioned in front of a window. We have things to discuss before we leave. Margaret disappears, closing the door quietly behind her, leaving Natalie alone with Marcus for the first time since the cabana yesterday. In this environment, he seems larger somehow, more in his element. The casual pool attire is gone, replaced by the armor of wealth and power, but his eyes are the same, that unsettling gray that seems to see too much. Let me be direct, he begins, sitting across from her. I told you I needed an assistant, and that's partially true. What I really need is someone to play a specific role. Her stomach tightens. What role? My wife. The word lands like a bomb between them. She's on her feet before she's conscious of moving. Absolutely not. I'm leaving. Sit down, Natalie. His voice doesn't rise, but there's steel underneath. Let me finish. Against her better judgment, she sits but perches on the edge of the chair, ready to bolt. I'm negotiating the acquisition of a resort property in the Caribbean. The sellers are old-fashioned. Family-oriented people who don't trust unmarried businessmen. They believe a man without a wife lacks stability, lacks values. Marcus leans back, steepling his fingers. I need to appear to be that stable, married man. For 2 weeks during the negotiation process, you would accompany me as my wife, attend dinners, smile at the right moments, play the role convincingly. Nothing more, she repeats slowly. You want me to lie to these people. I want you to help me secure a business deal. The distinction is semantic. The distinction is legal and ethical. He has the audacity to smile. I'm not asking you to do anything illegal, Natalie. I'm asking you to attend social functions as my spouse. Married people do it all the time. Married people are actually married, she counters, her heart pounding. This is fraud. This is business. He leans forward, his intensity ratcheting up. These sellers won't negotiate with me as I am, but they will negotiate with a family man, a man who understands tradition and stability. That's the role I need you to play. She should leave. Should walk out right now, call an Uber, go back to her depressing apartment and her minimum wage job. But $50,000 hangs in the air between them. $50,000 that would change everything. Why me? She asks again, searching his face for the truth. There must be women who do this professionally. Because you're believable. His answer is immediate. You're genuine, unpracticed. Exactly the kind of woman men like the sellers would expect someone like me to marry. Not a model or an actress. Someone real. The compliment, if that's what it is, feels backhanded. Someone real, meaning someone ordinary. Someone unremarkable enough to be believable as his wife. And what happens if they find out the truth? They won't. Marcus's confidence is absolute. We'll have a complete backstory, documentation if needed, matching wedding rings. To everyone we meet will be Marcus and Natalie Donovan, married for 2 years, deeply committed, perfectly normal. Her mouth goes dry. Donovan! She'd have his name, even if only in pretend. I need to know everything, she says, surprising herself with her own voice. Where we're going, who we're meeting, what you expect me to do and say. Complete transparency or I walk right now. He studies her for a long moment, then nods. Fair enough. He pulls out a file folder from his desk, thick with documents. The resort is called Paradise Cove, located on a private island off St. Lucia. The sellers are the Rousseau family, 3 brothers who inherited the property from their father. They've been approached by multiple buyers, but they're particular about who takes over their family legacy. He slides the folder to her. She opens it to find photographs of a stunning beach resort, financial statements, and detailed profiles of the 3 brothers, along with their families. The negotiations will take place over the next 2 weeks. We'll stay on the island, attend dinners with the family, tour the property, and gradually work toward closing the deal. Your role is to be charming, attentive, and completely devoted to me. The last part sends a shiver down her spine. Devoted, in appearance only, he clarifies, as if reading her mind. I'm not asking for anything physical beyond what married couples display in public. Holding hands, sitting close, perhaps a kiss on the cheek for appearance's sake. All boundaries will be respected. She wants to believe him, needs to believe him, and yet we barely know each other. Won't that be obvious? Which is why we're going to spend today preparing. He stands, gesturing for her to follow. By the time we arrive in St. Lucia tomorrow, we'll know enough about each other to pass as a married couple. Tomorrow. The timeline makes her head spin. This is happening too fast. Opportunities move quickly, Natalie. Either we commit fully, or we don't do it at all. She thinks of her nieces, of the plane ticket she could buy to California, of the credit card statements stacked on her kitchen counter, of her mother's medical bills that never seem to stop. I want half up front, she hears herself say. $25,000 before we leave. The rest when the deal closes. Marcus's eyes gleam with something that might be approval. Done. Margaret will have a contract drawn up within the hour. You'll review it, sign it if you agree, and the money will be in your account before we board the plane tomorrow. Just like that. $25,000. The rest of the morning is a whirlwind. Margaret returns with an attorney who walks Natalie through a contract that's surprisingly fair. It outlines her duties, the compensation, and most importantly, includes multiple clauses protecting her from any inappropriate conduct. There's even an escape clause. If at any point she feels unsafe, she can leave with a prorated payment for time served. She signs it with trembling hands. Marcus signs across from her, his signature a bold slash across the page. Then the preparation begins. They sit in his office for hours, building their story. They met at a charity gala 2.5 years ago. She was there representing the community college's scholarship program. He was a donor. He pursued her. She was resistant at first, but his persistence won her over. They married in a small ceremony 6 months later, just family and close friends. Marcus is relentless in his attention to detail. What's my favorite food? He quizzes her. Italian? She answers, recalling the detail from the file she's now studied. Specifically risotto. And yours? Thai. She makes up the detail. Penang curry. They move through allergies, favorite movies, pet peeves, morning routines. By lunchtime, brought to them by a silent staff member, Natalie's head is spinning with information. After lunch, a different kind of preparation begins. A Stylist arrives. A severe woman named Claudette who takes one look at Natalie's thrift store wardrobe and makes a disapproving sound. "We'll need an entirely new wardrobe," she declares, already taking measurements. Resort wear, evening gowns, casual elegance. She'll need everything. Natalie opens her mouth to protest, but Marcus cuts her off. "Whatever she needs. We fly out tomorrow at noon." The afternoon dissolves into a blur of fabric swatches, color consultations, and Claudette barking orders at assistants who appear with racks of clothing. Natalie is dressed and redressed in outfits that cost more than her monthly rent, each one tailored to fit her body perfectly. "This isn't necessary," she murmurs to Marcus during a brief moment when Claudette is occupied with her team. "I have clothes. You have clothes appropriate for serving poolside," he replies, not looking up from his laptop. "You need clothes appropriate for being my wife." There's a difference. The casual way he says "my wife" sends an unexpected flutter through her stomach, that she immediately suppresses. By evening, Claudette has assembled a complete wardrobe, somehow finding or altering pieces to fit Natalie perfectly. Evening gowns, sundresses, linen pants, silk blouses, even swimwear that makes her blush. And shoes, boxes and boxes of shoes in her exact size. "How did you know?" she asks, holding up a strappy heel that fits perfectly. "I told you." Marcus has appeared beside her, his jacket removed. Sleeves rolled up. "I make it my business to know things." The reminder of how thoroughly he's researched her sends that familiar chill down her spine. As the sun sets, casting golden light through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Margaret brings documents for Marcus to review. Natalie finds herself alone in the sitting area, exhausted and overwhelmed. She pulls out her phone and texts Danny. "I might be able to come sooner than I thought. We'll let you know details soon." His response is immediate. "Seriously? That's amazing. The girls are going to love meeting their aunt." Guilt twists in her stomach. He thinks she's managed to scrape together almost money for a plane ticket. He has no idea what she's actually doing to earn it. "You should eat something," Marcus says, startling her. "Dinner will be here soon. I thought we'd eat while we continue to refine our story." Dinner arrives, brought by the same silent staff. An elaborate spread of grilled fish, roasted vegetables, and a salad that looks too beautiful to eat. They sit across from each other. Make at hall table. The atmosphere strangely intimate despite the business arrangement between them. "Tell me about your family," he says, serving her a portion of fish. "The real story, not what's in the background check." She hesitates, then begins to talk about growing up in San Diego with Danny and their single mother after their father died when she was 8. About her mother's diagnosis with MS 5 years ago. About Danny meeting Rachel, getting somebody married, and preparing to start his family. About her own engagement to a man she thought was her future, until he wasn't. Marcus listens without interrupting, his gray eyes focused entirely on her. When she finishes, he asks, "What made you finally leave Phoenix?" "He put his hands around my throat," she says simply, the memory still sharp. "Not hard enough to choke me, just hard enough to show he could." I left that night. Something dangerous flashes through Marcus's expression. There, and gone so quickly she almost misses it. "Did you file a police report?" "Yes, nothing came of it. His family has money. Connections." The detective made it clear that without more evidence, without injuries that required hospitalization, it was my word against his. Marcus sets down his fork, leaning back in his chair. "His name? Why?" The question comes out sharper than she intends. "Because I don't like men who hurt women." His voice is quiet, but there's steel underneath. "And because if he's the reason you're running, I need to know if he's still looking for you." "He's not. She's sure of that much at least." He moved on quickly. There was someone new within a month. Marcus nods slowly, but something in his expression suggests he's filing the information away, storing it for potential use. After dinner, he walks her to the guest house, a smaller structure behind the main residence, but still more luxurious than anywhere she's ever stayed. It's fully furnished with a bedroom, sitting area, a kitchenette, and bathroom with a soaking tub. "Get some rest," he says from the doorway. "Leo will pick you up at 10 tomorrow morning. We fly out at noon." She nods, suddenly exhausted to her bones. "Marcus." He turns back, one hand on the doorframe. "Why are you really doing this? There has to be an easier way to acquire a resort." He's quiet for a long moment, his expression unreadable. "Maybe," he says finally, "but this is the way I've chosen." "Get some sleep, Natalie." He disappears into the darkness, leaving her alone in the guest house with her racing thoughts and the weight of tomorrow's departure. She texts her mother, "I love you. Talk to you soon." Then she turns off her phone, crawls into the unfamiliar bed, and tries not to think about the fact that in less than 24 hours, she'll be on a tropical island, pretending to be married to a man who unsettles and intrigues her in equal measure. A man whose real motives remain as mysterious as the shadows in his storm-gray eyes. The morning arrives too quickly, sunlight streaming through windows she forgot to cover. Natalie wakes disoriented, taking several seconds to remember where she is and what she's agreed to do. The guest house, Marcus Donovan's property. A fake marriage, $50,000. She showers in the enormous bathroom, trying not to calculate how much the marble tile alone must have cost, and dresses in one of the new outfits Claudette selected. Linen pantsuit that makes her look sophisticated and expensive. Someone she's not. A soft knock announces breakfast, delivered by a young man who sets up a tray on the small dining table without making eye contact. Fresh fruit, yogurt, coffee that smells like heaven, and warm croissants that flake apart at the slightest touch. She eats mechanically, her stomach too knotted with nerves to properly appreciate the quality. At exactly 10 o'clock, Leo appears at her door. The new luggage, sleek black pieces that match Marcus's set, is already packed with her new wardrobe. She's kept only her laptop, bag, and purse, essentials. She's not willing to let out of her sight. The drive to the private airfield takes 30 minutes. No commercial airport for Marcus Donovan, of course. Instead, a discreet facility on the outskirts of Dallas, where private jets sit like sleeping birds. Marcus is already there when they arrive, standing beside a sleek aircraft, speaking into his phone. He's wearing dark pants and a white button-down shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows, expensive sunglasses hiding those piercing eyes. He looks like he belongs in a magazine spread, not boarding a plane for a business deception. He ends his call as she approaches. "Morning, Natalie. Ready?" "As I'll ever be." He studies her for a moment, then reaches into his pocket and withdraws a small black velvet box. She knows what it is before he opens it. Inside are two things. Two wedding band. That's $2. What maybe chendete to. Prototype tam koitas likia goes down theater kritstede. Totua gul. Apolate today. Tiesi koi boy did soreta todo. Bosa do for two to run the beast to the board that height to me the didn't out to the address to one. Satlabito led it and engine to Ditan Bado Kadema Bushesi, which is a hot Fidia being and KDRD hitchet at the suspected two shum Sankete TTT, Sraji just to David or Ditchet, go to a daddy or easy Jarbo, Zarsot Katie, Durbanji, Tishudiek. They're beautiful in their simplicity, white gold, with a subtle design etched around the circumference. We should put these on now, he says, removing the smaller ring. Get used to wearing them. He reaches for her left hand, and she lets him his touch warm and certain. The ring slides on perfectly, settling at the base of her finger like it belongs there. Like it was always meant to be there. Your turn, he says quietly, handing her the larger band. Her fingers tremble slightly as she takes his left hand. It's larger than she expected, strong, and scarred across the knuckles. She slides the ring on, feeling the intimacy of the gesture despite the business arrangement between them. There, he says, releasing her hand. Go! Now we're married. The words, even spoken without ceremony in the shadow of a private jet, carry an unexpected weight. The flight is smooth, the interior of the plane even more luxurious than the one she briefly glimpsed in her internet research. Cream leather seats, polished wood accents, a galley stocked with food and drinks that probably cost more than her weekly grocery budget. Margaret is already on board, along with another man Natalie hasn't met. Late 40s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. This is Richard Chen, Marcus introduces them. My attorney. He'll be joining us for the initial negotiations. Richard extends a hand, his grip professional. Mrs. Donovan. A pleasure. The false name, spoken aloud for the first time, makes her stomach flip. She forces a smile. Please, call me Natalie. Once they're airborne, Margaret distributes folders containing detailed information about the Rousseau family. Natalie reads carefully, memorizing names, faces, and relationships. Pierre Rousseau, the eldest brother, 62. Married to Celine. 3 grown children, conservative, devout Catholic. Values family above all else. He's the patriarch, the final decision-maker. Antoine Rousseau, 58, married to Marie. 2 children, handles the day-to-day operations of the resort. Practical, business-minded, but defers to Pierre on major decisions. And Julianne Rousseau, 53, divorced, 1 teenage daughter. The youngest brother. More skeptical of outsiders, protective of the family legacy. We'll meet them tonight at a welcome dinner, Marcus explains, sitting across from her. The next few days will be tours of the property. Casual meals, getting to know each other. They're evaluating us as much as we're evaluating the resort. Us, as if they're a real couple, a real unit. What if they don't like me? The question slips out before she can stop it. Marcus's expression softens slightly. They'll like you. You're likable, Natalie. It's one of the reasons I chose you. She's not sure if that's a compliment or just another assessment of her usefulness. The flight is 4 hours, time spent reviewing documents, practicing their backstory, and trying to manage her anxiety. Marcus works on his laptop for part of the journey, occasionally taking calls in French that she can't follow. Richard and Margaret confer quietly in the back, leaving Natalie to her thoughts. As they begin their descent, she looks out the window to see paradise spreading below. Turquoise water, white sand beaches, lush green jungle. And there, on a private peninsula, Paradise Cove Resort, a collection of elegant buildings scattered along the shoreline, connected by paths winding through manicured gardens. It's beautiful, she breathes, unable to help herself. Marcus joins her at the window, close enough that she can feel the heat of his body. It is. And by the end of next week, it'll be mine. Not ours. His. The reminder of their arrangement, of the temporary nature of this pretend marriage, lands with unexpected sharpness. They land on a small airstrip adjacent to the resort. The heat hits immediately when the door opens, thick and humid, carrying the scent of salt and tropical flowers. Amit waits on the tarmac, mid-50s, with dark hair graying at the temples and skin tanned from years in the sun. Mr. Donovan. He approaches with a warm smile, hand extended. Welcome to Paradise Cove. I'm Antoine Rousseau. Marcus shakes his hand firmly, then turns to Natalie, his arm sliding around her waist with practiced ease. Antoine, allow me to introduce my wife, Natalie. Antoine's smile widens as he takes her hand, raising it briefly to his lips in an old-fashioned gesture. Enchanted, Mrs. Donovan. We are so pleased to host you both. Please, call me Natalie. Her smile feels frozen on her face. You must be exhausted from your journey, Antoine says, gesturing toward a waiting golf cart decorated with flowers. Let me show you to your villa. Then you can rest before tonight's dinner. They're driven along winding paths through the resort, past the main building where other guests lounge by a pristine pool, down toward the beach where individual villas are, nestled among palms. Their villa, Antoine explains with pride, is the owner's residence, where the family stays when they visit. We've moved to the main building for the duration of your stay, he says, unlocking the door to a stunning 2-story structure with floor-to-ceiling windows facing the ocean. Please, make yourselves at home. The interior is open and airy, decorated in whites and blues, with local artwork and fresh flowers everywhere. A living area flows into a dining space, a full kitchen, and upstairs, visible through an open loft design, a bedroom. One bedroom. Natalie's heart begins to pound as she realizes the implication. Of course, there's only one bedroom. They're supposed to be married. Married couples share a bed. This is lovely, Marcus says smoothly, seemingly unbothered. Thank you, Antoine. Dinner is at 7 in the main restaurant. Antoine heads for the door. It will just be family tonight. Casual, a chance for everyone to meet. He pauses, looking between them with genuine warmth. We don't often find buyers who are, how do you say, simpatico with our values. But when Pierre learned you were married, committed, he was very pleased. The emphasis on committed sends ice through Natalie's veins. These people aren't just selling property. They're vetting Marcus's character, his worthiness to carry on their family's legacy. After Antoine leaves, silence fills the villa. Marcus moves through the space, checking windows, doors, his movements efficient and controlled. Margaret and Richard are in villas nearby, he says, if we need them. And the sleeping arrangement? She forces the words out, her cheeks heating. Marcus turns to face her, his expression unreadable. There's a couch, I'll take it. Relief floods through her. Thank you. He nods, then climbs the stairs to the loft, returning a moment later with his laptop. I have work to do before dinner. You should rest. She watches him settle at the dining table, already focused on his screen, dismissing her. She climbs the stairs to the bedroom, which is as beautiful as the dominated by a king-sized bed, draped in white linens, with doors opening onto a private balcony overlooking the ocean. She lies down, not bothering to change, and stares at the ceiling fan rotating lazily abeam her. What has she gotten herself into? When she wakes, the light has changed, golden and slanted. She checks her phone. 6:18. 45 minutes until dinner. She showers quickly and opens the closet to find her new clothes already unpacked and hanging neatly. Someone, probably resort staff, has been here while she slept. The invasion of privacy should bother her more than it does. She chooses a simple sundress in soft coral, one that Claudette had insisted was perfect for casual tropical dinners. It fits beautifully, skimming her curves without clinging. She leaves her hair down, applies minimal makeup, and studies herself in the mirror. You can do this. Just smile, be pleasant. And don't forget your backstory. Downstairs, Marcus has also changed, now wearing light gray pants and a blue shirt that makes his eyes look more blue than gray. He looks up as she descends the stairs, and something flickers across his face too quickly to identify. You look perfect, he says simply. The compliment, unexpected and genuine-sounding flusters her. "Thank you. You too. I mean, you look good and, fine. Professional." He smiles. Actually smiles. And it transforms his entire face. For a moment, he doesn't look like a ruthless businessman or a man with shadowy connections. He looks human. "Shall we?" He offers his arm, and she takes it, trying to ignore the strength she feels beneath the fabric of his shirt. They walk along the lit paths toward the main building, the sound of the ocean a constant backdrop. Other guests nod at them politely, couples mostly, enjoying the paradise around them, unaware that the couple passing by is built on lies and contracts. The restaurant is elegant but casual, open on 3 sides to the tropical air, with candles and string lights creating an intimate atmosphere. A table near the back is clearly set for a private party, and as they approach, the Rousseau family rises to greet them. Pierre, the eldest, is exactly as his photo suggested, distinguished with silver hair and aiguilles that assess everything. His wife, Celine, is tiny and elegant, with a warm smile that reaches her eyes. Antoine is there with his wife, Marie, a quiet woman who seems content to observe, and Julien, the youngest brother, watches them with barely concealed skepticism. The introductions are a flurry of handshakes and cheek kisses. Natalie's French, rusty from lack of use, stumbles through greetings. They sit, Marcus pulling out her chair, his hand resting briefly on her shoulder, a gesture of casual intimacy. Wine is poured, appetizers appear, and the conversation begins in a mixture of English and French. Pierre leads the discussion, asking about their flight, their first impressions of the resort, their plans for the week. "And how long have you been married?" Celine asks, her eyes bright with interest. 2 years, Natalie answers, the lie smooth on her tongue now. "Though Marcus pursued me for 6 months before I finally agreed to marry him." Persistent," Pierre laughs, raising his glass to Marcus. A good quality in business and in love, no?" The meal progresses through multiple courses, each more delicious than the last. Fresh fish, local vegetables, tropical fruits prepared in ways Natalie has never experienced. And through it all, questions about their relationship, their life together, their plans for the future. "Do you want children?" Marie asks, her voice soft. The question lands like a bomb. Natalie freezes, the wine glass halfway to her lips. Eventually, Marcus answers smoothly. His hand finding Natalie's on the table, lacing their fingers together. "We're enjoying just being us for now. But yes, someday." His thumb strokes across her knuckles, a gesture that looks affectionate to their observers, but feels like a reminder. Play the role. Stay in character. "That's wise," Celine says approvingly. "Too many young couples rush. Take your time. Build your foundation." The irony isn't lost on Natalie. Their foundation is a contract and $50,000. By the time dessert is served, a rich chocolate creation that melts on the tongue, Natalie's face hurts from smiling. But she can see the approval in the family's eyes, especially Pierre's. They're passing the test. As they're preparing to leave, Pierre stands, raising his glass one more time. "To new friends," he says in heavily accented English. "And perhaps, if fate wills it, to the future stewards of Paradise Cove." Everyone drinks, and Natalie feels the weight of expectation settle around her shoulders. These people are genuine, kind, trusting them with something precious, and she's lying to their faces. Marcus walks her back to the villa, his arm around her waist, maintaining the appearance until they're safely inside with the door closed. Then he releases her immediately, putting physical distance between them. "You did well tonight," he says, loosening his collar. "They liked you." She kicks off the heels that have been pinching her feet for the last hour. "They're nice people, Marcus. They really care about what happens to this place. I know. He pours himself a drink from the bar. Scotch neat. That's why I'll take good care of it. But you're lying to them. We're lying to them. He turns, his expression hardening. I'm giving them what they need to feel comfortable with the transaction. Without this, they'd never sell, and Paradise Cove would languish. It needs investment, modernization, expansion. I can give it that. So the ends justify the means in business? Almost always. He drains his glass. Get some rest, Natalie. Tomorrow we tour the property. Another performance. She climbs the stairs without responding, closing the bedroom door perhaps harder than necessary. She changes into the silk pajamas someone, Claudette probably, packed for her, and stands on the balcony, letting the ocean breeze cool her heated skin. Below, she can see Marcus on the lower balcony, a shadow among shadows, his phone glowing in the darkness. Even here, in Paradise, he's working, planning, controlling. She touches the wedding ring on her finger, the metal, warm from her skin. For 2 weeks, she's Mrs. Donovan. For 2 weeks, she'll smile and lie and play a role. And then, she'll take her $50,000 and return to real life, to her tiny apartment, and her cat, and her community college classes. Except, as she stands in the tropical darkness, listening to the ocean, and feeling the ghost of Marcus's touch still burning on her hand, she wonders if returning to that life will be as simple as she's telling herself. Golden sunlight streaming through the villa windows, and a sound of waves providing a gentle rhythm to Natalie's waking. For a moment, suspended between sleep and consciousness, she forgets where she is, forgets the arrangement, forgets everything except the warmth of the sun on her face. Then reality crashes back, and with it, the weight of the role she's agreed to play. She finds Marcus already awake, standing on the lower balcony with a cup of coffee, dressed in linen pants and a white shirt, looking every bit the relaxed resort guest, despite the phone pressed to his ear. His voice carries up to her, speaking in rapid French, the words too quick for her rusty comprehension to follow, but his tone is clear, firm. Authoritative, the voice of a man accustomed to being obeyed. When he ends the call and turns, he spots her watching from the upper balcony. His expression shifts immediately, the businessman replaced by something softer, more approachable. The transformation is so smooth it's almost frightening. How many faces does Marcus Donovan have? And which one, if any, is real? Morning, he calls up. Breakfast is being delivered in 20 minutes. We have a full day ahead. She retreats inside to shower and dress, choosing white linen pants and a pale blue silk top from the extensive wardrobe that still feels like someone else's clothes. When she comes downstairs, breakfast has indeed arrived. A spread of fresh fruit, pastries, eggs, and strong coffee laid out on the dining table overlooking the ocean. Marcus pulls out her chair, another gesture of attentiveness that their hosts might observe from anywhere. They eat in relative silence. The only sounds the clink of silverware and the distant calls of tropical birds. It's almost peaceful, almost normal. If she doesn't think too hard about the contract binding them together. Antoine and Pierre will take us on a property tour at 10, Marcus says, refilling her coffee without asking. This is important, Natalie. That he'll be watching how we interact, how I respond to the property, but also how you respond. They want to see that we're both invested in Paradise Cove, that it matters to us as a couple. So I should be enthusiastic, she summarizes. Ask questions, show interest. Exactly, but not performatively. These men have been running a resort for 30 years. They can spot insincerity from a mile away. His gray eyes meet hers across the table, serious and intent. Just be yourself. That genuine quality you have, that's what they need to see. The compliment, if that's what it is, warms something inside her that she immediately tries to extinguish. This is a business arrangement. Marcus's kindness, his compliments, his careful attention, all of it is strategy, not genuine affection. At precisely 10 o'clock, Antoine and Pierre arrive in a golf cart decorated with the resort's logo. Both men in casual resort attire, their smiles warm and welcoming. Celine has joined them, a wide-brimmed hat protecting her from the sun. Her eyes bright with the excitement of showing off something she clearly loves. "Today you see the heart of Paradise Cove," Pierre announces, as Marcus helps Natalie into the cart, his hand steady on her lower back. "We show you everything, the good, and the places that need attention." They begin at the main building, an elegant two-story structure housing the reception, main restaurant, and administrative offices. Antoine walks them through the operational systems, the booking software, the staffing structure, his pride evident in every detail. Marcus asks intelligent questions about occupancy rates, seasonal fluctuations, maintenance costs. Natalie finds herself genuinely interested, her business degree suddenly relevant in unexpected ways. "And what do you think, Natalie?" Pierre asks as they exit the main building, his attention turning to her. "You have the eye of a woman. Does this feel welcoming?" "It does," she answers honestly. "But the reception area feels a little dated. The bones are beautiful, but maybe modernizing the furniture, updating the color scheme, it could feel more contemporary, while keeping the tropical elegance." Pierre and Celine exchange a glance, something passing between them that Natalie can't quite read. "You see?" Celine says to her husband. "I have been saying this for 2 years. My wife has excellent instincts," Marcus says smoothly, his arm sliding around Natalie's waist. "I've learned to trust her judgment on aesthetic matters." He looks down at her, and for a moment, his expression hides something that looks almost like genuine admiration. She's usually right. The tour continues through the grounds, past the main pool area, with its swim-up bar and lounging spaces down to the beach, where individual palapas offer private spaces for guests. They visit the spa, a serene building nestled in tropical gardens, where the scent of essential oils and the sound of water features create an atmosphere of complete tranquility. "This is my favorite place," Celine confides to Natalie, as the men discuss renovation possibilities. "When the resort becomes too much, when family becomes too loud, I come here." She touches Natalie's arm gently. "Every woman needs a sanctuary, yes? Even from the men we love." "Especially from them," Natalie replies without thinking, then catches herself. But Celine only laughs, a knowing sound that speaks of decades of marriage. They tour the individual guest villas next, ranging from modest single-room accommodations to elaborate multi-bedroom structures. Antoine explains the maintenance challenges, the aging infrastructure, the need for updates that the family hasn't been able to afford. With each revelation, Natalie can see Marcus's mind working, calculating costs, envisioning improvements. But it's when they reach the far end of the property that everything changes. There, hidden behind a grove of palms, sits an old chapel, small and weathered, its white paint peeling, but still beautiful in its simplicity. Overgrown vines climb the walls, and the wooden door hangs slightly crooked on ancient hinges. "This was here before the resort," Pierre explains, his voice taking on a reverent tone. "Built by missionaries in the 1800s. When my father bought the land, Hippopotamus had it demolished. But my mother, she said no. She said it was sacred ground, that destroying it would bring bad fortune. So we kept it, though we no longer use it." Celine moves to the door, pushing it open with some effort. Inside, the chapel is dim and musty, sunlight filtering through gaps in the roof, illuminating dust motes that dance in the air. Simple wooden pews sit facing a small altar, And despite the decay, there's something peaceful about the space, something that feels removed from time. "We were married here," Celine says softly, looking at Pierre. "All 3 brothers and their wives. Our children were baptized here." She turns to Natalie with eyes that have suddenly grown moist. "It breaks my heart to see it like this, but to repair it properly would cost more than we have." Natalie steps inside, drawn by something she can't name. The space feels sacred despite its deterioration, filled with decades of love and commitment and family. She can almost see the weddings that happened here, the ceremonies, the prayers spoken by people long gone. She turns to find Marcus standing in the doorway, silhouetted against the bright tropical light, his expression unreadable. For a moment, their eyes meet, and something passes between them, an acknowledgement of the irony. Here they stand, in a place where real marriages began, while theirs is nothing but a carefully constructed fiction. "It's beautiful," Natalie says, meaning it. Even in disrepair, you can feel the history, the love that happened here. "If we restore Paradise Cove," Marcus says, his voice quiet but firm, "this chapel will be part of it, restored properly, with respect for its history." He looks at Pierre. It deserves to be preserved, not as a museum piece, but as a living space, where more families can create memories. Pierre's eyes glisten with emotion. "You understand," he says simply. "This is not just property to you. You see what we see." The moment feels significant, or weighted with meaning beyond the words spoken. Even Natalie, complicit in the deception, feels the pull of it, the genuine connection forming despite the lies underlying their presence. They continue the tour, visiting the resort's small marina, the tennis courts, the children's play area, each space revealing both potential and need. By the time they return to the main building for lunch, the sun is high. High overhead, the heat intense despite the ocean breeze. Lunch is served on a terrace overlooking the water, a casual affair of fresh fish tacos, tropical salads, and cold drinks. The conversation flows easily, shifting from business to personal, from practical concerns to shared stories. Julien joins them, having been occupied with resort business all morning, his skepticism from last night still evident in his watchful eyes. "So, Natalie," he says, his English heavily accented, but clear. "You support your husband in this acquisition? You want to be part of Paradise Cove?" The question feels like a test, his gaze sharp and assessing. She sets down her fork, meeting his eyes directly. "I support Marcus in everything he does," she says carefully. "But yes, this place is special. I can see why your family has protected it, why it matters so much. If we are fortunate enough to become its stewards, we'll honor that legacy." "Pretty words," Julien says, his tone not quite dismissive, but close. "But words are easy. Actions tell the truth." "Then judge us by our actions," Marcus interjects smoothly, his hand finding Natalie's under the table, fingers intertwining. "We're not asking you to trust us blindly. Take the time you need to evaluate us, just as we're evaluating whether this is the right investment." The tension holds for a moment. Then Pierre laughs, breaking it. "Always so serious, Julien. Let them eat in peace." He raises his glass, to getting to know each other, to patience, and to the wisdom to make the right decision. They all drink, but Natalie notices Julien's glass barely touches his lips, his eyes still sharp on her face, as if trying to read the truth written there. The afternoon is designated as free time, and Natalie finds herself grateful for the reprieve. Back at the villa, Marcus immediately retreats to his laptop, video calls to take, emails to answer, the business that never stops, even in paradise. She changes into a bois swimsuit, one of the modest but elegant pieces Claudette selected, and heads down to the beach with a book she's been trying to read for weeks. The sand is perfect, warm and white, the water a shade of blue that seems impossible. She spreads a towel under a palapa and tries to lose herself in the story, but her mind keeps wandering. To Marcus's hand in hers under the table, his fingers warm and strong. To the way he'd looked at her. In the chapel, something complicated passing between them. To the Rousseau family. So genuine and trusting, believing the fiction she and Marcus are selling. You look troubled. The voice startles her, and she looks up to find Julien standing at the edge of her palapa, his expression slightly less hostile than before. "May I?" She gestures to the empty space on her towel, and he sits, his movements careful, respectful of her space. For a long moment, neither speaks, just watching the waves roll in and retreat, nature's eternal rhythm. "My brothers, they want to believe," Julien says finally. "They want to see your husband as the answer to our problems, as the person who will love Paradise Cove the way we do." His dark eyes shift to her face, but I'm not so easily convinced. Natalie's heart begins to pound, but she keeps her voice steady. "What convinces you?" "Time?" "Truth." He picks up a handful of sand, letting it filter through his fingers. "My wife, she lied to me for 2 years before I discovered the truth. Small lies at first, then bigger ones, until our marriage was built on nothing but deception." He brushes his hands clean. "I learned to recognize the signs, the small inconsistencies, the moments when the mask slips." Fear crawls up Natalie's spine. "Are you saying you think Marcus and I are lying about something?" Julien is quiet for a long moment, his gaze back on the ocean. "I am saying that everyone has secrets, Natalie. The question is whether those secrets matter, whether they change the fundamental truth of who you are." He stands, brushing sand from his shorts. "You seem like a good person. I hope I am wrong to be suspicious, why?" He starts to walk away, then turns back. "But if I am right, if there are lies between you and your husband, they have a way of destroying everything. Believe me, I know." He leaves her sitting there, her heart racing, her hands trembling. Does he know? Has he seen through them already? Or is he just naturally suspicious, scarred by his own failed marriage? She stays on the beach longer than intended, trying to calm her nerves, trying to figure out if Julien's words were a warning or a threat. By the time she returns to the villa, the sun is beginning its descent, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Marcus is still working, but he looks up when she enters, his eyes immediately assessing. "You're upset. What happened?" She drops her bag on the couch, suddenly exhausted. "Julien came to talk to me on the beach. He's suspicious, Marcus. I think he might know something's not right." Marcus closes his laptop, giving her his full attention. What exactly did he say? She recounts the conversation, watching his expression for signs of concern. But Marcus only nods slowly, as if this is kukemikas. Exactly what he expected. Julien's the wild card in this deal. Pierre and Antoine want to believe because they're optimists, because they need to believe. But Julien's been burned, so he looks for deception everywhere. So what do? We stay consistent. We don't let his suspicion make us change our behavior or overcompensate. He stands, moving to the bar to pour 2 glasses of wine, handing her one. The right way to sell a lie is to believe it yourself, at least while you're performing it. The cynicism in his voice, the casual acceptance of deception, reminds her sharply of who Marcus really is. Not the attentive husband, not the man who wants to preserve a historic chapel, but someone who manipulates reality for business gain. Have you always been this way? The question escapes before she can stop it. So comfortable with lying? Then his expression hardens. I prefer to think of it as flexible morality. In my world, absolute honesty is a luxury few can afford. He takes a drink of his wine. The people who succeed are the ones who understand that truth is negotiable. That's a sad way to live. Maybe. His eyes meet hers, something vulnerable flickering there for just a moment. But it's the way I've survived. The moment stretches between them, heavy with things unsaid. Then Marcus's phone rings, shattering the tension. He glances at the screen, and his whole demeanor shifts, tension flooding his body. I need to take this. He steps outside onto the balcony, his voice low and sharp, though she can't make out the words. She watches him through the glass, seeing the businessman, the controller, perhaps the dangerous man that rumors suggest. His hand cuts through the air in sharp gestures, his jaw tight with anger or frustration. When he comes back inside, his face is carefully neutral, but she can see the storm behind his eyes. Everything okay? Fine. Business complication. Nothing that affects us here. But the way he says it, the tension still visible in his shoulders, suggests it's anything but fine. That evening's dinner is less formal. Just the two of them at a beachside restaurant on the property, surrounded by other guests enjoying the tropical paradise. They're given a private table at the edge of the sand, candles flickering between them, the sound of the ocean providing ambient music. It should be romantic. It looks romantic, the setting perfect for a couple celebrating their marriage in an idyllic location. But Natalie can't shake the unease from Julienne's warning, from Marcus's tense phone call, from the growing sense that she's in deeper than she realized. Tell me something true, she says suddenly, setting down her fork. Something real about yourself, not part of the backstory we created. Marcus looks up, surprise flickering across his face. Why? Because I'm playing your wife. Because I'm lying to good people on your behalf. And I realize I know almost nothing true about you. She leans forward. Give me something real, Marcus. Please. He's quiet for so long she thinks he won't answer. Then he sets down his own fork, his gray eyes finding hers in the candlelight. I had a brother, Michael, 2 years younger. He died when I was 19. The admission, stark and painful, hangs in the air between them. Natalie softens immediately. I'm so sorry. What happened? He made the mistake of trusting the wrong people, got involved with things he didn't understand, people who saw him as expendable. By the time I realized what was happening, it was too late. Marcus's jaw tightens. I've spent the last 15 years making sure I'm never that powerless again, that I always understand exactly who I'm dealing with and what they want. The revelation recontextualizes everything. His need for control, his obsessive information gathering, his flexible morality. He's not just ambitious or ruthless. He's a man shaped by loss, by the failure to protect someone he loved. Is that why you investigated me so thoroughly? She asks gently. To make sure you understood who you were dealing with? Partly. He picks up his wine glass, studying the dark liquid, and partly because I saw something in you that first day at the club. A strength you don't even recognize in yourself. You'd survived something terrible, rebuilt your life from nothing, and you weren't asking for anyone's pity or help. That kind of resilience is rare. The compliment, coming after such a personal revelation, affects her more than all his previous careful flattery. This feels genuine, unguarded, a glimpse of the real Marcus beneath all the masks. I'm sorry about your brother, she says quietly. And I'm sorry that loss taught you to trust no one. I trust Margaret, and I trust Leo. His eyes meet hers. And I'm beginning to trust you, Natalie, more than I expected to. The words settle between them, significant and heavy. The ambient noise of the restaurant, the other diners, the ocean, all of it fades away until there's only the two of them in the flickering candlelight. The moment breaks when their server arrives with dessert, and by unspoken agreement, they shift to lighter topics, safer ground. But something has changed. Some barrier has thinned, and Natalie feels it in the air between them, electric and undeniable. Walking back to the villa along the beach, Marcus takes her hand, and this time it doesn't feel like performance. His fingers intertwine with hers naturally, his thumb stroking absently across her knuckles. The moon has risen, full and bright, turning the sand silver and the water into liquid mercury. "Thank you," he says as they reach the villa stairs, "for listening, for not judging, for being here. It's what you're paying me for," she says, trying for lightness. But the words fall flat. "Is that really why you're here?" His voice is low. Intimate. Just for the money? She wants to say yes. Wants to maintain the professional distance that keeps this arrangement safe and uncomplicated. But standing in the moonlight with his hand warm in hers, she finds she can't quite form the lie. "I don't know anymore," she admits quietly. Marcus steps closer, his free hand rising to cup her face, his thumb brushing across her cheekbone with heartbreaking gentleness. His eyes search hers, asking a question she's not sure she knows how to answer. For a breathless moment, she thinks he might kiss her. Every nerve in her body anticipates it, wants it, despite all the reasons she shouldn't. But then he drops his hand, steps back, the moment dissolving like mist. "Get some sleep," he says, his voice rougher than usual. "Tomorrow we meet with the family's attorneys and accountants. It'll be a long day." He disappears into the villa, leaving her standing on the beach, her heart pounding, her lips tingling with a kiss that never happened, wondering what she's really agreed to, and whether $50,000 will be enough to pay for what this is costing her heart.